It's a pleasure to welcome Professor Ranjay Gulati. He's the endowed chair of business administration at the Harvard Business School. Professor Gulati, it's a pleasure to welcome you.
My pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
It's very interesting, the subject that you teach upon, which is leadership. So off the bat, let me throw this question out there for entrepreneurs, since we are the world's largest conference for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need to be leaders. Which comes first, in your opinion, an entrepreneur or a leader?
I think a leader comes first, because I think you have to think about leadership as a point of view or a perspective, and I think leadership is about exercising influence. And it's that spark of leadership that allows you to even think of becoming an entrepreneur. And I think leadership is exercised not just in the entrepreneurial sphere of life. You can be a leader in a non-profit, you can be a leader in a classroom, you can be a leader of a club, of a team. So there are so many avenues to exercise leadership. And if you really see people who become entrepreneurs, they have that, many of them at least, understand that ability to have an influence and an impact. And I think not many of them can lead people easily. They maybe think of us as innovators in a product space. So I think leadership is really, it transcends entrepreneurship in many ways.
You probably teach a lot of people who are going to be executives and leaders in that sense, some who are going to be entrepreneurs and leaders in different sense. So there is a variation of, if I may say, leadership roles. How do you incorporate, the whole spectrum of leaderships when you teach to people, because they come from different strata of society, different levels of experience and background?
So there's an old distinction one of my colleagues once made about the distinction between a leader and a manager. Leaders are people who are able to mobilize and activate change. They are able to look beyond the edge. They understand what might be happening in the marketplace. But they are not necessarily good at managing. Managing is about predictability, order, sustaining, managing the budgets, creating predictability. So leadership is really about change, management of predictability, and organizations need both. You can't do one without the other. Management without leadership is stagnation. Leadership without management is chaos. And so, it's the ability to harness both, and not every individual is ambidextrous enough to do both. So if you're one, look for the other.
Since you're focusing on leadership, let me ask you, is that trait inherent, or you think that could be acquired with experience in life?
So this is an age-old question that you are taking on, and I would say the answer, which is a self-serving one, is if leadership was an innate quality, we wouldn't be here to talk about anything, right? It's like, go have your DNA tested, and either you got it or you don't. We fundamentally believe, and I think if you look at it, first of all, there are no consistent traits that are always identified with leadership, first of all. I think you see varying sets of traits, and leadership is contingent by situation as well. And I would like to believe that leadership is a learned set of skills. Not everybody learns them as easily from experience. So you say, there's an old Walter Wriston, one of the chairmen of Citigroup, once said, good judgment comes from experience, but experience comes from bad judgment. That you need to make mistakes to become a leader. But I don't think that's true. I think not everybody is able to even learn from mistakes. So I think leadership is really something that actually we would like to believe is something that you can be taught some of it, you learn some of your experience, and it's bringing those things together.
This might sound a cliched question, but I think I should throw this out to you, because many people would want to, and they always ask these questions. They say, what are the 3 traits of a leader? So if I look at myself and evaluate my personality, do I have it in me? Then maybe I can pursue that path. Can this be identified, you think?
So let me throw out a few. You put me on the spot over there, but I think first of all, leaders understand how to influence people. Not by authority, not with power, but influence. So they understand influence. Leaders, I think, have a sense of vision that they may have, or they are able to harness others to collectively build the vision. So they understand the importance of kind of creating some idea of where you want to go. And then they know how to influence people to shape them either around their own vision or the collectively built vision. I think leaders also understand the ability to think of the world in non-zero-sum ways. The world is the ability to create value, to expand opportunity for everybody. It's not about themselves only. It's about collectively creating value for everybody. Their customers, their employees, themselves, the people they work with, the investors, everybody. I think leaders also understand how to motivate people. They understand the power, they know how to hire, find the right people, they know how to manage them and motivate them. Because if you can't motivate people around your vision and agenda, you'll never get it done. So leaders fundamentally understand how to work with and through other people.
Professor Gulati, I want to go to your book that's going to come out. Very interesting topic. I think it's very relevant and it will be of great benefit to entrepreneurs. Like you said earlier in your session, people try to build the product technology first rather than finding the pain points in the market, which should be the other way around. So if you can elaborate on that.
So the book is called Reorganize for Resilience, putting the customer at the center of your organization. And it starts with a very simple question that, in many cases, companies, small and large, basically have an idea, a product, a technology, or a service. They think the marketplace out there may want to buy it, and then they push it out. It's what I call inside-out thinking. And I think that's fundamentally, and you may say, I think I have done some vague market research, I have some idea about the market, I have done some segmentation, so I have an idea. I think it's much more important to not start with a product or a service in mind, but start with a set of pain points you want to address. What you need to understand very well first and foremost is what are the pain points you want to tackle. And it is once you understand those pain points and then you build your offering of products, services around those pain points, because I think that's where great business ideas come from. They come from the ability to understand and those pain points may not be articulated. Customers may not even know those pain points exist. So I think it's really important to do what I call outside-in thinking, which is you always want to be looking at the customer, the marketplace, and then tapping into that to then create value.
Finally, I want to ask you, rather address a pain point of many aspiring entrepreneurs. Most of them here, especially in Silicon Valley, are technologists. They have a product or a service to offer and they're very good at it. Now the question is, they have been professionals all their lives, very good at it. Should they take the leap and become an entrepreneur, or should they join somebody else? How do you become an entrepreneur is the big million-dollar question. If you can take a shot at it, I'd appreciate it.
So I think, there are several factors to consider for people who are thinking of making that leap to whether I should be an entrepreneur. There are some obvious ones. What is my threshold for risk? Right? I mean, the risk threshold, I think, is a hugely important factor. I think the other factors are how creative am I in my ability to come up with some, novel ideas and be able to develop those ideas. The idea you may have today may not be the one that will eventually hit the market 2 years down the road. So do I have the flexibility and nimbleness of thinking? So there's a risk tolerance, there's a flexibility and nimbleness of thinking. There is also the ability for me to mobilize the people around my idea. Do I have that ability to influence and harness and mobilize? Because there's a chicken and egg game over here. I need to get investors interested, I need to get partners interested, I need to get employees interested, I need to get customers interested, I need to bootstrap and get them all interested at the same time. Do I have the ability to do all that? So am I a kind of a mobilizer of other people? And if that's not my forte, I have low threshold for risk, and I'm not really a natural mobilizer around ideas, then it's good to find somebody else who can help you with that. Being a great technologist is wonderful, having those, that's wonderful. But then the ability to then tap into something else. I think is key.
Okay. Professor Gulati, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and knowledge.
Thank you very much.